Hi, fifth graders, and welcome to another ELA lesson with me, Miss Mooney. So, welcome back today. I'm really excited about today's lesson. It's one of my favorite things to be learning, and it is on the topic of figurative language. So, you might have heard this word before, and a couple of other words we'll be talking about today. But if not, this will be a great refresher for the week, and it'll get you prepared for some other fun stuff we'll be doing later on. So, like I said, the topic is figurative language. And the objective is that I can define the words metaphor and simile and write down my own examples of metaphors and simile. So those are our, I guess, three big vocabulary words we'll be learning today. Figurative language, simile, and metaphor. And then we're gonna have a lot of fun learning how to write our own as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So all of your materials you're gonna need today are some kind of like colored something's popped off of that. Some kind of colored writing utensils. So you can do crayons, you can do markers, colored pencils, chalk, paint. You could do whatever you might have at your house. And if you don't have those materials, that's okay too. You can always just write down the colors that we'll be using later on. I'm just using these colored pens, but you can use anything you like, any colors. And then, of course, you'll be needing your ELA notebook for a short activity we're going to be doing later on. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is Lilo from Lilo and Stitch, and it's one of my favorite movies I used to watch growing up and when I was your age, and still one of my favorite movies to watch. And so I don't know if you've seen the character Lilo do this movement before, but anytime Lilo gets stressed or anytime she is just feeling tired or upset or angry, she does this thing where she just lays on the ground and she looks up at the sky and looks up at the ceiling and she just lays there. And so this morning when I woke up, I was feeling so tired and I just could not seem to get out of bed and get started on my day because I was just so sleepy from staying up late the night before and from the weekend and everything. And, it was just really hard. I was feeling really groggy and just did not want to get started with the day. And I started thinking about how I was feeling, and this image of Lilo popped into my mind. And that's exactly how I felt laying in bed this morning, just kind of laying there, looking up at the ceiling, thinking, oh, I do not want to do anything today. I feel lazy. And that comparison put a really good image in my mind. And I could exactly imagine what Lilo was doing when she was laying there. That's how I imagined myself. And that comparison just really kind of put that picture in my head. I thought that was really cool. And it worked out really well because today we're going to be talking about comparisons and talking about how we talk about stories or we do our writing or talking or anything like that. And we use comparisons in order to make our writing more fun. So, for example, this is the sentence I could have told you today. I am tired today. Kind of bland, basically just kind of to the point, doesn't really put a picture in our head or anything. Or I could have told you, I feel as tired as Lilo in this episode of Lilo and Stitch. And so that is me comparing myself to this fun character of how I felt. And if you know this character and if you've seen the movie, you could picture that in your mind of how tired, how I felt, that I felt just like this character in the movie. And so this is just kind of how I got started today, thinking about comparing myself to other characters and comparing things in my thoughts. So that's exactly what we're going to be working on today, actually, is making those comparisons. So let's start with our first vocab word for the day, and that is figurative language. So figurative language is the use of words to create a vivid. Vivid also means like powerful, it means strong, pictures and ideas in the mind of the reader. And so back to the last slide, I could either say I'm feeling tired today, or I could say I'm feeling just as tired as Lilo did in that episode or in that movie. And because of how I said that, my use of words created that picture, that picture in your mind. And it made you create a strong image and powerful pictures in your mind of what I was talking about. And so there are many different kinds of figurative language. You've probably heard about and learned about other ones in the past, but the two words that we're going to be learning about is similes and we're going to be learning about metaphors. So that is kind of like the overarching two topics we're going to learn about, but those are both examples of figurative language. So let's get started with learning about the simile. So a simile is a figure of speech or figurative language that compares two things that are unlike each other. Similes include the words as and the word like when they compare these two things. So when I said that I was feeling as tired as Lilo, that's using as, and that's a simile because I am comparing those two things using the word as. And so those are kind of unlike each other, me and then a fictional character in a movie, but I'm using a word to compare those, so I'm creating a simile. So let's look at a couple examples. So let's look at some examples using as. So this sentence usually looks like something as a blank, or as blank as a blank. So I'm feeling as tired as Lilo. And so here's an example of that. If I were to say, she ran as fast as a cheetah. So this is a really common sentence to use to describe similes because we know that cheetahs are super fast and they're known for running quick. And if I said that she ran as fast as a cheetah, I'm doing two direct comparisons. So what I'm comparing is I'm comparing the girl, so she, who I'm talking about in the story, with a cheetah. And I'm using the words fast and the word cheetah as kind of like descriptors. And so those are two unlike things, but they have that commonality between them where cheetahs run fast and the girl ran fast, so we compared them. So let me give you an example of a comparison that I don't really think would work. So this is a sentence I wrote that she ran as fast as a toaster. Okay, so according to our definition, I am using a figure of speech to compare two things that are unlike each other. So I'm comparing someone running fast and a toaster. So yeah, those are two unlike things, but they don't have something in common that I can really compare. So when we saw fast and we saw the girl running fast and the cheetah, it's because both of those two things run really quickly. But if I wrote down that she runs fast as a toaster does, that doesn't really make sense. So we're going to go ahead and put a big cross over that because when we're using figurative language and when we're writing these kinds of sentences, even though we're comparing two unlike things, they still have to make sense. And so that's why figurative language is so fun, because we create that awesome picture in our mind. And so if you told me that your friend was running as fast as a cheetah, I could make a really vivid picture in my mind of her running super fast through like a jungle like a cheetah does and just running super, super quickly. But when you say as fast as a toaster, something goofy like that, that doesn't really make sense together. Well, let's get rid of that. Okay, then let's look at another example. So let's look at the word like. So the sentence, or a sentence starter for that is something is like this. Something like this. And so it's comparing two things, but it's using the word like. So I wrote my sentence, my eyes are blue like the sky. So this is comparing my blue eyes and it is comparing the sky. And so I decided to put these words together because the sky is known for being very blue and a clear blue sky. And then someone's eyes might be very blue and clear as well. And so that would be a really great comparison. And so if you told me that your eyes were as blue as the sky, I could have a picture in my mind of your eyes being super clear and blue and pretty, like I would imagine a sky. And so there's kind of like the picture of what I think about if you were to tell me that your eyes were as blue as the sky. I would imagine probably not as many clouds as that picture, but I would just imagine that really bright blue sky, and that's what the picture in my mind would be. So let's take a look at a couple more examples. So here's one that I wrote. My eyes are as bright as the sun. So in here you can see that we use the word as twice. And so the two subjects that we're comparing, or the two things that we're comparing, are my eyes and the sun. And so I wrote that my eyes are bright. So that can mean that I have like big eyes. It can mean that think I have pretty eyes, that I have really like sparkly eyes, you could say. And we also know the sun is something that is really bright and big, and that's why we compare those two things. And so the two unlike things in that sentence are eyes and the sun. Those are not too similar, but the thing they have in common is that they're both very bright. Let's see the next example. So the next example I wrote is Matt is as sweet as pie. So my two subjects, or my two things I'm talking about, is a boy named Matt and pie. And so the word that we're using to compare them is the word sweet. And so if I say that someone is sweet, I can mean that they're really kind, that they have a nice personality, that they're friendly. And then I'm using sweet as like a literal thing with pie. Maybe we had like a cherry pie or an apple pie, and that is a very sweet dessert. And so I'm comparing this to unlike things, a boy named Matt and a pie, because they have the commonality that they're both sweet. All right, here's another example. My dog is like a tornado. So this sentence means that my dog is crazy. And for this one, if someone were to tell me that their dog is like a tornado, I think I would imagine like a big dog, like running around, chasing its tail, maybe making like, just taking over the whole space, running around like crazy. And, because that's kind of like what a tornado does. A tornado spins around and it messes up all the things around it. And that's what I imagine a big dog would do. And so if you told me the sentence, my dog is crazy or my dog is wild, okay, I could see that. But if you were to say, my dog is like a tornado, I imagine this really cool picture in my head of your dog just running around and making a mess of things and all of that. And so the word that I used to compare those was the word like. And then I used dog and tornado. And then for my last example, I wrote that he is as tall as a skyscraper. And so the word that I used in that one to compare was the word as. And then my two subjects are he, so it's a boy that I'm talking about, and then a skyscraper. And so a skyscraper is something that is very tall. It's like the tallest building around, and it's just huge, and it just towers over all the other buildings. And so if I'm comparing that to someone, I'm saying that that person is super tall. And so if you were to tell me, oh, my friend is tall. Okay, how tall? Oh, he's as tall as a skyscraper? Okay, he must be a lot taller than you and I are then. And so that's what those two things have in common. So that's why I compared them. So if you want to take one more look through this page, you can see that all of my comparing words, so as and like, those are all highlighted. And then I underlined all of the subjects as well. They're both the subjects that are being compared. And then right in the middle of all of that, you can see the word that is kind of like their common thing. So with eyes and sun, the word was bright. With Matt and pie, the two common things were that they're both sweet. And then I said that my dog is like a tornado because they're both big and messy and wild. And then lastly, I put that he and the skyscraper are both really tall. All right, so now we're going to take a second for you to go ahead and give this a try. So if you have to go back to the video a little bit to look at those definitions, you totally can go ahead and do that. But there are a couple sentence starters for you on this paper. So this paper is called the Simile Self-Portrait. And so what this is that you are going to practice writing similes by describing yourself. And so when you describe yourself, you want to think of things that have something in common. So, and you can use this one if we want, but when we said that my eyes were as bright as the sun, we were thinking, okay, well, what kind of eyes do I have? Oh, I have bright eyes. And so I'm comparing that to a bright sun. Or maybe you want to compare that to a bright star. It can really be anything you think of, whatever you think. It's all about yourself. And you can create those similes. So let's go ahead and do the first one together. So that one says, my hair is blank like blank. So let's see. How about we say that my hair is blonde? So I could say, my hair is blonde like spaghetti. So hair and spaghetti, those are two different things, but both of them are like a yellow blonde color. And so those are the two things that we're comparing. And so it's okay if they're kind of silly. That's why we use this language, because it makes it more fun and more imaginative. And so if I started thinking of your hair, then I would start thinking of spaghetti and thinking, okay, well, wow, that's the color of spaghetti, so that must be the color of their hair. And so that's what I think of in my mind. So you go ahead and use any words that you like for how to describe yourself. And then at the end, you're going to be drawing a picture of yourself too. So this might take a little bit of time. So go ahead and pause for probably like 10 to 15 minutes as you work on this. You can get some who's with you right now to help you with this, to help you practice these words. All right, so go ahead right now and take your moment to pause so you can fill out this chart. All right, well, welcome back. I wish I was there so I could see what you put on your chart, but I bet it's great. And if you had to leave some blank, that's okay too. I know even when I was making my own, it was a little tricky to think of everything. So you can use any of my examples too to help you think, but this is what I wrote down on mine. So at the top, I wrote Miss Mooney. And so I wrote, my hair is brown like chocolate. So as you can see, I have like dark brown hair, and the color of my hair made me think of a chocolate bar or like a any kind of like chocolate snack. And so I said, my hair is brown like chocolate. And so the comparison word I used was the word like, and the two things I compared was my brown hair and a chocolate bar. And the next I wrote, my eyes are as dark as soil. And so I also, if you can see, I also have dark brown eyes. And so I started thinking about what other things were brown like that. And I thought of like soil that you use to plant something. And so I compared my eye color being dark and then soil together, and I used the word as. Next, I wrote, my nose is small like a button. So the nose one was a little bit more tricky for me trying to compare something, but I was thinking of how a button is really tiny. And so I just compared that to my nose because I thought my nose was kind of small. And so I put that my nose and a button were both small. And that was what they had in common. And I used the word like. And the next, I put my mouth is singing like a bird. And so I compared my mouth singing a song to how birds do their chirping and their song singing. And then next, I wrote, my face is as bright as a star. So I thought that that would be something fun to put. Maybe your face is like lighting up because you're smiling a lot or you're happy. And I compared that to like a really bright star that I see at night. And then next, I put my body is moving like a snail. So I told you earlier in this that I woke up super tired. And so all day I've been kind of slow. So I compared myself to a snail, just kind of moving along slow. And I used the word like to compare those. And then I wrote, my hands are strong like a machine. So the hands one was a little bit tricky too, trying to think of that. But I thought of like strong hands and like some kind of machine that makes things. And so that was the comparison I thought of. And I used the word like. So you probably do have totally different things that you wrote on your list based on all of your characteristics. So if you want more practice with this, you can now try it again if you would like in your journal, and you can write down some different similes that you thought of. You could even try this with a friend, and you could give this to someone else and have them write down things about them. Another fun thing that you can do is that you can switch with maybe one of your parents or siblings or something, and you fill out one for them. And so if I was filling out this for my mom, I would say, let's see, my hair is curly like, so you kind of have to think of like things that are curly then. So I could say my hair is curly like pasta. I know I said spaghetti for the last hair thing too, but my mom has like very small, like ringly curls. And so it kind of reminds me of pasta. So I could say, my mom's hair is curly like pasta. Or she has blue eyes. And so I could say, my mom's eyes are as blue as the ocean. You see, something like that. So when you're writing these, you really want to focus on how you want to describe that word. So for example, when I was thinking of my mouth, I was thinking of things that my mouth do. Okay, well, I talk, I can make funny faces, I can sing. I can sing. That's something that I enjoy doing. And so then when I was trying to figure out a comparison, I thought of other things that sing, and I thought of birds. So birds chirp and make noises. And so this is something that you really have to be thoughtful about, and you really have to think of those comparisons in your head. So this was my list. Feel free to add anything to your list if you want, or if you now have some more ideas and you want to try writing the list again. And then at the bottom, I just drew a little picture of myself too. All right, so now we're going to be moving on to metaphors. So metaphors are similar to similes in that they do compare two unlike things, but they compare them a little bit differently. So let's start by looking at the definition. So a metaphor is another figure of speech, so it's more figurative language, that compares two unlike things in which no word of comparison is used. So a really easy way to remember these two words is that a simile will always use like or as or any other words to compare. So you say, their eyes are like the ocean. Her hair is curly as pasta. And you always have some kind of word there to like connect the two ideas. But with a metaphor, you don't. So when you use a metaphor, you're saying that something is something else or something was something else. So the first example I wrote down was that the classroom was a zoo. So if this was a simile, I would write the classroom was like a zoo. But for a metaphor, you just say it straight how it is. So you don't have any kind of comparison word. So I'm saying the classroom was a zoo. And so this might be used when maybe you're doing like a classroom party, or you're doing a really fun activity and the classroom is super loud and noisy and everyone's running around, or you're doing like a science experiment and everyone is using their materials and laughing and talking and everyone's working together, and it kind of looks like a zoo. And so when you think of a zoo is really crazy with lots of people running around and animals making different noises. And so those were two things that I compared, was a crazy loud classroom and then a crazy loud zoo together. And so by saying the classroom was a zoo, I'm saying that the classroom was noisy and crazy. So then the next example was clouds are balls of cotton. And so I thought of this one because I was looking outside and I saw really big puffy clouds outside, and something that looks like is balls of cotton. So you might have seen balls of cotton like this before. Maybe if you're putting on like nail polish, or if you're doing like an art project, you'll have these little cotton balls. But this is saying that the clouds are balls of cotton, that the clouds are puffy and all pushed together, that they look just like the balls of cotton, but it's saying that they are balls of cotton. And then lastly, we put that you are a walking dictionary. So that one's a little bit harder. So to kind of break down this example, if I think of a dictionary, what kind of things are in a dictionary? Well, it's lots of words. It's all words and definitions of words and how to pronounce words. And so if I'm saying that you are a walking dictionary, that basically means that I think you have a great vocabulary, or maybe I think that you use some really cool words, or you know the definitions to a lot of words that I've never heard before. And so you're a walking dictionary. Not that you're like a dictionary, but you are a dictionary. So the biggest thing to remember with metaphor is that it's saying that something is something, or that you are something. He is something. Where simile was using the like or as. So let's look at a couple more examples. So the first example, your voice is music to my ears. So when I say that your voice is music, I mean that your voice is really pretty, that your voice sounds really nice. It almost sounds like music that I'm listening to. So the two things I'm comparing is your beautiful voice to music. And I'm not saying that your voice sounds like music, but your voice is music. And that paints a really good picture in my mind too. And then the next example is the thunder was a mighty lion. And so I'm comparing the word thunder, so like crashing thunder during a storm, to a mighty lion. And so a mighty lion will give out a really powerful roar sound. And so I'm saying that the powerful, mighty sound this lion made is similar to the sound of thunder. And so I'm saying that the thunder was a mighty lion. And then next, my underlining got a little funky, but I put, you are my sunshine. And so this is another fun sun example. So we know that the sun is really bright and it's warm, and it means that we're having a new day and all that. And so if I'm saying that you are my sunshine, I'm saying that you're someone who I think is warm and bright and happy. And so the word that's comparing it is by saying that you are my sunshine, or you are sunshine. And then the last one I wrote is, my dad's mind is a computer. So that one's kind of like the dictionary one again. But when I'm saying my dad's mind is a computer, I'm comparing my dad's mind to a computer. And so we know that computers are really smart and they're really quick and you can find information super fast. And so when I say that my dad's mind is a computer, I'm saying that that's exactly what my dad's mind is. It's really fast and smart and quick and intelligent. And so the reason why we use metaphors and the reason why we use similes, like I said before, is to just make our language more exciting, making it more vivid. It gets kind of boring after a while if we're just saying, you have a nice voice. The thunder was loud. You are nice and bright. My dad is really smart. You see how that would get kind of like a little bit boring after a while? And so we put in figurative language so that people have to think about what we're saying and that they can imagine exactly what we're saying too. And figurative language is also kind of like an exaggeration too. And so that's a new vocabulary word too. I should have written that one down. But an exaggeration, you've probably heard it before, but it's where you're saying that something is like much more than it is. And so, like the last example, when I said that the man was as tall as a skyscraper. Now, skyscrapers are like 80 feet tall. Is it possible for a person to be 80 feet tall? I don't think so, not exactly. But I'm using an exaggeration so that I'm really stressing to you, this person is tall. Your voice is music. And it's just showing how much I think something is something else. The thunder was a mighty lion. It was loud. It was crazy loud. And so we use similes because we want to compare the two things. But when we use metaphors, it puts a little bit more power on something because it's saying that your voice isn't just like music. Your voice is music. So that's why we have two separate ones. Because I remember when I was first learning about this, I didn't really understand why we had both similes and metaphors since they were so similar. But metaphors are when you really want to stress something to someone. You want to put a lot of importance on it. So let's go ahead and give this another try. So this is another short activity, and it's called Metaphors About My Favorite Color. So what you're going to do is, my directions got a little cut off. It says that you are going to draw your favorite color in the middle, and then you're going to write 5 metaphors about that color. So you can write about how the color looks, how the color makes you feel, places you might have seen the color, or anything else about the color. And so this is a little bit of a challenge, I bet, because it's really going to make you think. Another cool word is like abstractly. So if your favorite color was blue, you're not just thinking about the color blue, you're thinking about, okay, what other things are blue? How does the color blue make people feel? How does the color blue make people feel other than the color orange or the color red? What are the differences and feelings between that? When we're writing, we write with a purpose and we write to convey meaning, convey sense to people. And so that's why we practice these kinds of sentences. So I gave an example, and if my favorite color was yellow, I might say, yellow is sunshine. And so I got that one just because I was thinking of the sun, and the sun is bright, and we usually color suns yellow, and like the sun rays and everything. And so I'm saying that yellow is sunshine. That is what the color yellow is. So as you can see for 1 through 5, they all have the word is in there to remember that you are going to be writing. Well, there's a couple different words you could write, but for now we're just going to practice is. So go ahead and take another 10 to 15-minute pause so that you can practice this on your own. And then I'm going to show you mine in a second. So if you're really just kind of stuck on this, then I'll show you how I did mine, then you can start from there. But go ahead and try it at first by yourself and see what you can come up with. All right, so here's the example I wrote down. So if you watched last week's video, you would have found out that my favorite color is red, but that's okay if you didn't. You can know now. So I drew, it kind of looks like a cloud now that I look at it, but I try to draw just like a big yellow like blob, right, or red blob right in the middle. So this activity took me a little bit of thinking. It took me some thinking about what the color red means and what I've heard of it before. So the first one I put is the color red is fire. So I thought of this because when I thought of like cooking on my stove, if I am like cooking some food, and on my stove, the part that's hot is usually bright red. And bright red usually means it's really hot, not to touch it. And so when I think of really hot, I think of fire. I think of something that's like burning. And so I put the color red is fire. And then for number 2, I wrote the color red is a special gem. So for that one of my favorite, so a gem is like something you might have on a ring or something that you might have on like earrings or it's like jewelry, it's like a rock. But it's well, one of my favorite ones is the ruby. And so ruby red is like a very like deep color red. And so I started thinking of the color red as like a special gem because I imagine that being like something that a king or queen would wear maybe. See, these can be totally like kind of out there, but as long as you find a connection and you find some kind of commonality between the two, then it works and you can write it down. So now for number 3, I put the color red is a fast fire truck. Because fire trucks are known for being that bright red color. And I'm thinking about when a fire truck like zooms past your car, you just see a zoom of red. So red is a fast fire truck. And then number 4, the color red is fresh strawberries. So strawberries are one of my favorite food. And so when I think of that bright red color, I think of bright red strawberries. And then lastly, the color red is the love I have for my family. So also when I think of the color red, I think of like love. And I know that hearts are usually in red and like Valentine's Day, everything is red and pink. And so I thought of love. And so I thought that red is a color that shows the love for my family. So that one is also a little bit different, a little bit more. That's something I had to think of. So go ahead and pause right now again if you wanted to add anything else to your chart, if you wanted to make any other color ideas based on maybe some inspiration you had while I was reading. But good job following along with that activity. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do a little tester together. And so this is just going to see how well you remembered the difference between similes and the differences between metaphors. So in your notebooks, you should have written down your examples of your similes when we wrote about our characteristics. And then you should have your list of your metaphors when we wrote down just now the metaphors about our colors. And then if you also want to add in there a little note about how similes compare things with a word. So like, as, something like that. And then metaphors compare things directly. There's no word. Something is something else. The color red is strawberries, something like that. Because that'll help you out a little bit once we get started with this activity. So this is called the metaphor and simile practice. So here are 10 different sentences. So this is a little bit of a challenge too. And what you're going to do is you are going to read every sentence and then you're going to label. Label also means just to like right next to it. If the sentence is a metaphor or a simile, and then I want you to take a guess at what you think the sentence might mean. So I think you guys are going to be fine getting the metaphor and simile part, but the extra challenge with this is trying to determine what the sentence means. So it's a little bit easier to talk about figurative language when it's figurative language and metaphors and similes that we write ourselves because we know what they mean. But this is a challenge for you to try to figure out what you think they mean. So don't worry if this is something that's super tricky right away. Soon I'm going to be going over all of these so that we can do them together, but I want you just to go ahead and pause and try this out by yourself. So definitely go through each one and see if it's a metaphor or a simile. And so an easy way you can do that is just look for our words is for metaphor, like or as for simile. And do your best with that. And then I want to see if you were able to determine what any of these sentences might mean. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, but I think you're going to be fine. You're going to get it. Just try your best. So go ahead and pause for another 10 to 15 minutes, however long you need to give this a try. Okay, so here is the answer key. So all of your metaphors and similes, those should all be the same as mine if you were able to get those. But then once I go through and I describe what these sentences mean, it could be a little bit different from what you thought they meant. This is based on how you picture it in your head. So it's a little bit different. That does not mean you're wrong. That just means that we thought that they were different things, but this will give you a bit of a direction on it. So let's start with the first one. The man is a giant. So this one is a metaphor because I saw the word is, and it is saying that the man is a giant. And so a giant is something that's very big, very, very large. And so I thought that this means that the man is super tall. So man is a giant means that the man is tall. Number 2, he has a memory like an elephant. So this one is a simile because we see the word like. Right here, we see the word like an elephant. So it's comparing the man's memory to an elephant. And so you might not know this, but I don't even know if this is true, but there's always this saying that elephants never forget that they have great memories. So this just means that he has a great memory. He's really good at remembering things. All right, number 3, the dancer is a swan. One's a little bit hard too. So this one is a metaphor because it uses the word is. It's comparing the two things. And then a swan is used to compare when someone is graceful or they're elegant. And so if someone dances like a swan, they dance really pretty and very strong. And so what this means is that the person is graceful or that they're pretty, things like that. All right, number 4. My muscles are hard like a rock. So what do you think it is? I think it's a simile because of the word like. There's a word that is comparing the two. So I'm comparing my muscles and a rock. So when you say your muscles are as hard as a rock or like a rock, this is saying that I just have really strong muscles. If your muscles are really hard, that means that they are strong. So I'm saying that my muscles are strong like a rock. All right, and now number 5, that girl is very bright. So this one is a metaphor because of the word is right here. And so this just means that the girl is smart. So if someone says you're very bright, it means that you are intelligent, that you pick things up very easily. So the girl is smart. The boy is a volcano ready to explode. So this one, it is the word is again, so it is a metaphor. And this sentence, so when you think of a volcano that's ready to explode, it is about to just go everywhere. It's about to pop. It's about to go. And so when someone says that they're about to explode or they're like a volcano, it means that they're angry, that they're ready to just burst. So when you say that the boy is a volcano ready to explode, it means that he's mad and he is about to maybe have like a fit. Like he is mad. And then number 7, I wrote, he is as quick as a cat. And so this one is simile because we can see the word as saying that he is as quick as a cat. And so that just means that he's fast. And so I know these things based on like experiences I've had. So I've tried to pet a cat before and I go to pet it and the cat just bolts and it just runs away. So this is saying that he is as quick as like fast as a cat. And then number 8, your mind is as sharp as a sword. So this one's a little bit tricky too, but when someone says that you have a sharp mind, it means, first of all, it's a simile because it uses as. I don't know if I said that yet, but when someone says that your mind is sharp, it means just that you're very quick to think, that you have ideas really fast, that you're very smart, that you're very just kind of like easy to think of something. Then for number 9, I put my dog runs like the wind. So this is a simile because of the word like. And it's saying that my dog is very fast, and we know that the wind is quick and you can't see the wind. You see, it goes so quickly through, and sometimes you'll kind of like blow away a little bit because the wind's so strong and fast. And so this is saying that my dog runs like the wind, so my dog is very fast. And then for number 10, my teacher told me that reading is the key to success. So this one, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I put that this is a simile, but this is a metaphor. See, we can all use more practice. I goofed on this one. This one is actually a metaphor. So I'm just going to change that real quick so that we don't get confused if you're writing down notes. See, we can all use more practice sometimes. So number 10 is actually, it is a metaphor because we're seeing that the teacher told me that reading is the key to success. So we're comparing reading, and then we're comparing a key that opens a success door. See, two separate things. And basically what that means is that reading is important, and it is important to be successful. So that is whether it's in school or just in life. If you're a good reader, you're successful, might be what that's saying. So this is our list. So thank you so much for going through all of those examples with me during this lesson and giving all of this a try. If this was your first time looking at similes and metaphors, great job, because we had lots of practice in this. And so if you need a little extra practice, then go back to those other worksheets and try to practice writing more similes. You can try it with a partner, with a family member or something, writing similes or metaphors about each other. You can also be looking in your books trying to find words like this. If you're reading our Esperanza book, you can see there's lots of similes and metaphors that we'll be talking about this week. But then if this was just a refresher for you too, that's great as well. But I'm so happy that you were here with me today to practice, and I will see you at our next lesson. Have a good day.